Okay, let's load in Drake. Oops. Yeah, really like the cool part about VRM posing desktop is that you can also like access the blend shapes very easily with like a few clicks. Yeah, exactly. That's like what I do. Like what you see now is basically the process. Yeah, totally. It's just that I forget, like, from those small thumbnails, which exact animation I used and stuff like this, you know? Yeah, true. That's true. So now that we will have a full record of an entire capture, that's great. So the cool part is that when you go to the blend shapes and then you can start with like one of these maybe, and then you can click here on the icon with the eye, and you can even steer the gaze where he should look. You can go for different like options, and that way the training data is getting way better. Cool trick is also like I'm using like the middle mouse button to move it around, and the right mouse button to turn the camera, turn the model. You can also do the same stuff when you are in the photo capturing mode. On top right, the button, you can use the same navigation, so you don't have to go back and forth. And then you can set up width and height to the resolution that you need. And then you go into the folder. Just overwrite the first one. Oh, I forgot the white background. So I don't know if it also works with transparent background. I don't think so. At the moment, I train it always with white backgrounds and then prompt it in where I then say plain white background in the metadata. And the cool thing is with all these poses, like they are like categorized in three different poses, like standing and then like more active ones like combat stuff or like athletic stuff. And then the third one with like more like seating positions or crawling, stuff like that. And then in addition to all these, which is already pretty cool, like they have like an entire community workshop where people can share more positions. So there are like 230 more that are already downloaded. You can cycle through all of them within like seconds. Usually I start with default ones first. in that way, like with all the looks that you train into, like the training data set, you also, and also like the positions, you also somehow give the character a bit more identity. I mean, if you would only like train like sexy poses, the LoRA would like contain and convey that obviously. So if you only train like fighting poses, like aggressive looks and stuff like that, that all of that plays in, you know. Yeah. It's good. The thing is for the ones from behind, you don't need back to blend shapes. Yeah, usually I copy paste the initial like prefix, so to speak, which is like Drake VRM, a person, and then you have like the middle um, ground of the prompt, which contains what is actually happening there. That is something that you always write yourself, but with the tools that we got in the training stack, we can like already do prefix plus the custom text that we do plus like suffix, which would be like on plain white background, and then combine that like before, like in the first ones, which is also still in, like in the tutorial. I did that by hand, all of that in the editor, and copy pasted this, and now it's a bit easier. But we will do that. This one. So like customize the pose slightly. We want to like eliminate something like this where parts of the clothes would like lead into if you train that into like a constant error popping up where like the mouse would like have like an additional black dot like inside like this. You can solve this. And then I do like mostly full body shots, but then also like shots where you have like more detailed, higher resolution view, like portrait style and different levels of zoom. I mean, I think it all of this is still being explored by multiple people, so best practices are still have to emerge. Yeah, I think it depends. Like for like a real person, I would do that. I'm not sure if we need it for like the resolution of like an avatar. But I'm not sure. Like, maybe. Yeah, usually I have like a folder on the right side where I can see what I already have to get a sense of which poses might be missing or what I really like about this software is that it's so like once you are a bit fluent with it from the controls, it's really easy to capture VRMs and also like stage stuff that you can then run through ControlNet and stylize it with stable diffusion, like in higher resolution. You can set any resolution you want. So, and the photo mode allows you to export any resolution you want. So you can export whatever you like there and maybe post multiple VRM avatars and then without having a LoRA train, just prompt a certain style over that control net image and then might also look good. It's more work when it comes to like generation, but depending on what's the goal and what you want to achieve, also can make sense. I've played around a bit with that. I also try to train objects. There's a new tutorial on the YouTube channel of Entrepreneur about like training objects, which I still have to like check out and dig a bit more through that. I was trying to like train a mocha room and spawn that everywhere from different angles, and I was trying to find out of it like also understands or like carries the artworks over properly into the LoRa, but that didn't work as I would expect. They have so weird poses. Yeah, this one is good. Um, 30 is fine. I usually do 50 now because it's not that much more work. Um, like really the once you have the model trained and then you evaluate which epoch you want to use. So you can set up or you generally set up a training in a way that every certain amount of steps, let's say um, we have like 50 images, and then by writing the folder name like this with like a 20 underscore and then the name, you define that this folder should circle through 20 times in total. So each image 20 times, which means 20 by 50, 1000 times the training happens. So it's 1000 steps. And you set the training up in a way that every 1000 steps it saves a file, which allows you to also continue the training from those points, like kind of like checkpoints at a later point, at a later stage. And at some point, the model becomes overtrained. So if you like train the model, what I did for Skilly um, last night, it's like doing 10,000 steps total. So I have 10 files, and then it's about outputting or prompting like XY axis images, like with all the different checkpoints, with all the 10 different epochs that were like saved on the disk. And then you do that for different weights and then in different models. And each grid that you get out of that, let me show you an example. Where do we have it? So those look like this. Um, that's the first epoch, and then on the x-axis you have like all the epochs, and then you need to find issues within those images. So took some notes for all of these. So one thing that you notice is that at the lower weight, the shoes are wrong all across the board, no matter how many epochs. Those are getting better because like the training data weight gets higher the more I go to the right, and the higher you put the weight of the LoRA in the prompt, the better they get. So that's just like to explain people what that means. Then in epoch 01, first epoch, the arm has the wrong color. Overknees become transparent. At 1.1 weight, the entire arm is robotic. So the hand is not entirely robotic. And this is problematic. I mean, it's very obvious that the first training step, the first epoch is wrong. The challenge is to find, at some point it was, is it 4, 5, or 6? And then you cut out, the next step was like cutting out 1, 2, because like you generate these images in full resolution and that takes time. So to save time, you reduce the amount of total prompts that you want to do for your grid. What was like, and then you always say what was the best result. So this was the second one. Walk in town from epoch 6, cross at weight, and skill looks overtrained. The face and eyes are a clear indicator for that. Like it becomes like a weird stare, even like at lower weights when you go down. This is usually like an indicator, like these artifacts that the whatever we look at is overtrained. And it's not that much the case for the eyes on the lower epochs. sometimes it has to do with the prompt, so it's very hard to differentiate. So you need to like cross prompt across different models. You always write down the insights that you get um, for every stage that you go through. And then there's also, when it comes to evaluation, there's also, for example, when you use a model like this one, it is called Vision XL. Has like a very like Fortnite-ish look, like this 3D. I don't know how to call this aesthetic. But if it gets lost at some point, um, if the weight gets too high of the LoRa and it overrides, at some point it starts to override the style of the model that you are training with. Um, it would have been the case also for like the overtrained images that I already took out, like 7, 8, and 9, be even more obvious that this happens. But like these are like methods that you need to like do to find out which one is the safe tensors file that in the end you are going to share with people and upload to Civit and all the other platforms, so that people can load that LoRa and really prompt it without having to think about all that stuff. And that should always work around like weight 1 or 0.9, around that. So if you are thinking about like evaluating between two two LoRa, like two checkpoints in the end, it's usually you take the one that's a bit more trained so that people can lower the weight a bit when they are prompting in certain scenarios instead of using a less trained epoch. So and then they increase the weight higher than one. Usually it's better to do it the other way around. Um, yeah, that's like really it can be a process that takes time, a very time consuming process. And then the question if you do like 30 training images or 50, like compared to the time that you need to prompt all of that through and like evaluate which one is best and what do you do, is not really the time consuming part, like creating 50 more images. I think it makes sense that we like for nature, I even did like 100 images for my own avatar. For the Renile avatar, I did like think only 50 as well. But yeah, I think it makes a difference. Like the more variety you can show, the better and more versatile the LoRa becomes. And yeah, yeah, that's a good question. You need to like every time you would like do environments and lighting, um, you need to like also describe that in a prompt, but I think it helps. I think it would help. So during like I skipped briefly through the object training video of like entrepreneur on YouTube, like what I talked about like a bit earlier. Um, they need to dig into that more deep. They also used different backgrounds for the same image. So I like they only had like a training data set of like 10, and then they used the same 10 images of, for example, like I think it was like a beer mug or something, like a Viking beer mug, and then they used the same images again with background. And I'm not exactly sure if they did that because that is just like what you do when you only have like a beer mug and not like a person to describe, or if that also would make sense with yeah, avatars or such, and how much of a difference it would make. or if it would be better to do like again plain white background and different more poses and stuff like that. I mean, like a background image is easy to set in here as well, and you can toggle that in and out. You can even import the 360 spheres. Yeah, they have some. Yes, you can like import the blockade files in here. I just like imported one with HDR. And also, those are the same ones like Hyperfire's, right? I guess they are open source. Yeah, but like this is really cool when you want to like create like scenes and want to like use control net, then you can like prompt the background with the blockade labs skybox generator and then move it around, like turn the camera position like different VRMs or whatever like props you want to throw in. You can also import GLBs here. And yeah, it's a pretty cool tool to be honest. This VRM posing desktop. I'm not sure to be honest. Should we try? Do you want to send me another file? Or do you have another file for that avatar? Looking for more poses. Most of the poses are not useful for like creating a warrior, LoRA. Hey, yeah, awesome. Yeah, like I like the software that I'm using, this VRM posing desktop thing, has like a lot of different like default poses, the ones that you see here, like the mannequins. You can like click them and then it automatically maps to the VRM. And it has like a fighting category and a seating category, so you can find all the different stuff. And then you can like take export PNG files from there. And the good thing is you can also um, manipulate the blend shapes so that the output that you throw into your training folder, which you later describe with text files, um, then you can like create a very diverse training data with different moods and different activities that the avatar does so that the neural network can better understand what the user wants to like prompt, like map what we throw in to the output that the user want to expect while using stable diffusion. Actually, I'm not exactly sure. So they have a community post store, but I didn't check yet how people insert the entries there. It's like in Steam Workshop where people can throw in stuff and you can like download these poses for free. And then you have them in the local library and can like map them. But I'm not exactly sure how they exchange, which format. Oops. Um, so import pose or scene. And let's check export and next. Let's check pose. Pose is a JSON. Scene is a VPD. And export is also pose and scene, which will probably be the same. And then Unity is an animation dot anim. Let's check. Just coordinates. Probably an internal thing, right? What did you say? Probably yes. Probably that's possible. And then you exactly know which frame plus which blend shapes reflect whatever like mood or like the description of the photo or the JPEG PNG that comes out of that frame as an export. And then you could then just like replace the character name in the TXT file that describes the training training image. And if you do that for like all of the setting up, like setup stuff, you can automate the creation for almost any VRM. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what we need, I think. But like I never learned Blender. That's still what fucks me up. It's also a bit late to start it with all the other stuff that's on my plate. Sadly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And if you want to take it one step further, you could then like describe or like check in Blender which type of character you want to trade, which like actual character that avatar has, like with like a warrior or sexy girl or whatever, and then it only selects the subset of animations that fit into that bucket. But that's like the next step. I think like having a generalized set for the training would already be absolutely amazing. Like imagine we could like train LoRa's for all 100 avatars that Toxum did. I mean, like what I try to do here by like showing this and then also recording this, give like a bit deeper sense into the manual process so that somebody can grasp the whole picture, you know, the same exactly what we are doing right now here. For a single manual LoRa training, the software is great, but if you want to do 100 different avatars, we really need Blender scripts. All of that can be like automated, like in a like cloud-based queuing software where you can like even maybe pay as you go if you want to have a LoRa for your character and you only pay for the compute that it costs to like run the script. Everything from a web interface that analyzes all the avatars that you have like in your Vibe API endpoint, like for your wallet, for example, could be extremely powerful. And then that way we can make all of this tooling accessible to folks. Because I think if you can like offer a LoRa like this for a price point of like $50 or less, like a lot of people would do that. And it only takes 3 to 4 hours of compute. Especially if we give the people in the first step only like the like all the different tensors files, like all the epochs, and then they select the best one themselves. If even if that post training step is not automated yet, it's a huge win. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So sick. It's crazy to see how all these pieces come together now with like AI being like another component to like on-prem AI, another component to decentralized stacks. And I think you are the first fitness mover again. First mover in fitness after gardening. How is the gardening coming along? Yeah, love it. On Thanksgiving? What a joke. It's like Black Friday month already. So that's the reason why you are not ripped in 2024. Mr. Zuckerberg, you are the reason. Making good progress. What's happening in America? It's Ireland. You have also riots in Ireland? What kind of riots are happening in Ireland? Then don't get into it, please. I will Google it myself. Of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would like lower the 20, the 20 iterations of that folder to maybe 10 if you have like twice the amount, something around those around those lines. And then there's like a parameter that's called learning rate, which we are going to see later when we set up the training, that you can like also um, increase or lower to define how much further like the learning should go with each step that is trained. And you can like for example then get like more training data, more images into like the same epoch capacity, so to speak, so that when you train the same amount of epochs, you train still the same amount of steps, but you have like more variety of content or context that you throw into the vector database. So what is happening is you always throw in a pair of let's quickly go into the other folder, the Skilly folder, because it's already here. And then, so you always have pairs. You have an image and a text file. And what happens during the training is that you aggregate the information of like what this image looks like plus what you describe what that actually is. Like these pairs are being added into like when the user prompts are being added into the output of the prompt. So when the user adds in like the LoRA file in addition to the Stable Diffusion base model, and you write exactly that text, it will very likely look like exactly that photo, but in the style of the base model, which also is in the vector like database of, or the vector latent space, whatever the vocabulary for that is, tensors file that is being um, like queried by the user, like in the database. They throw this in, they throw in the text, and then they get like the vectors out of it, which is like the Stable Diffusion base vector, which probably recognizes a person standing on one leg with like different images that have been trained in the base model. Plus, then with the trigger word skilly VRM, it redirects to like this image, which we've trained, and like merges all these vectors into a unified like output, which then will look like the image that you see here in like the style of the base model that you load into Stable Diffusion, or like a SDXL checkpoint, which has like a particular style trained into it. And the more different variety you throw into the LoRa file by having more different images, the better the um, Stable Diffusion instance at the end user's PC like understands what you want to be visualized, like especially in combination with like the character, because like the a character that looks sad or a person that looks sad might look different than Drake VRM looking sad. And the more detailed you inject the training data, the better like this training data is. The better the output that the user sees when prompting Stable Diffusion plus the LoRa that we are training. That's how I understand it. I mean, still learning in progress. Like, the more I deal with it, the better I get it. I mean, I've started to train these things in April, I think, or May. And it's really cool. Like, this AI topic is really autodidactic friendly because there's not real material out there anyways. So they learn about papers that already only came out a year ago or something like that. So and even those people are iterating on new stuff, and everything is so fast. I think it's about trying to understand the bigger picture and then puzzling in the different things like LoRa or embeddings, and then understanding also that the same thing that works for stable diffusion LoRa is exactly the same for an LLM LoRa. It's the same method. When you train, for example, training pairs of certain, let's say, customer support chats for a particular industry or a particular um, company or particular whatever like department in a bigger industry company, how these people, how the LLM should talk, which vocabularies they should use for particular questions, how they should answer. It's exactly the same. It's instead of having a pair of like a PNG plus like a TXT, they have like just text pairs. And that is also like a LoRa that you can, in additionally to like a local language model, can load into like an LLM backend together and then run that, which results in like the outputs that the user prompts, like the vectors are like morphing into the direction of the LoRa. So that's how like it's exactly the same for LLMs. Yeah. And you can also do that until a certain point with like character cards where they import like previously like each time the user sends a message and the bot replies, before the bot replies they also get the information from like a certain set of data that is appended to the user prompt, which describes how the LLM should reply and stuff like that. That's what I like learned from using Silly Tavern and like Tavern AI and these front ends for AI LLM on-prem stuff. And like Upstreet is doing the same stuff with the agent SDK. And it's great because like these files and these formats, these character cards are like interoperable as well. So you can throw the same character into like Tavern AI into that front end. So you could like load it into the agent SDK from Upstreet, for example. That's yeah. There's like a website called characterhub.ai, chub.ai. I think it's a new domain, short for Character Hub, and then you yeah, chub.ai, and then you can download all different like characters that people wrote descriptions for. And then the if you throw that into a local LLM, like the character will reply in a way as that described character would like reply. They're super funny things. You can do that with that. But LoRa is like one layer deeper. Like you can exchange these character cards with an LLM running in the backend, like in real time almost. And a LoRa, you need to like load it into the GPU with each time you prompt, and that would like result in like latency when the user interfaces with it, like on a like second basis when you chat with someone. You would need to like load different thing in the backend. While when you have like chat with 20 different characters, you can have the same LLM, and then with each prompt use a different character card and even have like a group chat running with like 20 different characters talking to each other while the backend with the LLM stays the same. But for LoRa's, you would always need to like swap out the tensors file in the in the VRM of your GPU. Almost there. There we go. 50 images. Yeah. So now you can boot Koya as a GUI. That's the software which you use to train. I think the link is already in the guide, but I will also post it again into Voice too. Now I need to watch the burning bus next to Burger King. Crazy. Insane. Yeah, so Koya is like good tooling integrated. So some utilities, and one of that is like blip captioning. And quickly, yeah, okay. Um, and yeah, that allows us to select the folder into which we've curated our images. And then we can set like a prefix, which is Drake VRM, a person. We have like this trigger word, which is the Drake VRM, to as like an indicator signaling for the um, vector search to happen in the LoRA, because like every image that we throw in has that right at the front. And a person is used to refer to the regulation images that we are going to use during the training. So the folder structure for like a training data set is always like the images that you want to have, that you want to train, plus like the text files inside, and a log folder where like Koya is going to save all the logs. The model folder where like the save tensor files, like all the epochs, are being stored. And then we have like a regulation folder for like the keyword person that I already copied into that. I'll also upload this. I got it from the Patreon page of like Entrepreneur. He curated 2,000 images of persons, and when they walk through like the 20 loops through our image folder, it chooses like random photos from this regulation person folder, and like more set in as well, so that that's like in layman terms, we would like you would say like the like model better understands that the avatar that we are training is a person, and not a chair or a tree or something like that. It helps to guide the direction of like the training into like the direction of like a person. So they also had like training data sets for um, man and woman in addition to that, but I think for avatars, person is like genderless, like across the board. I think the right thing to do, um, which is why I usually select like the person thing, no matter if I train Cyber Brokers Mac or Skilly or Nature or Drake. I usually use like person as like a training data set. We also like at Quellcode we did some tests with furniture, so trying to train with like a huge data set of furnitures, a LoRa that allows you to like conserve a particular product from which is a furniture, for example a shelf or like a table or something like that, into a LoRa, but it's still like super early research. And we learned that you would, instead of having like the broad furniture thing, you would rather have only like beds or only tables, because like when you try to prompt like a shelf with like regulation images of like all sorts of different furniture, like it really fucked up. But there was something that they tinkered around with, because like we have like one client for many years for who we are building like backend stuff and document generation, all sorts of things. Basically like bread and butter business. And we wanted to explore if we can help them to like generate marketing images for certain products on the fly using stable diffusion. They already like we already do something with like Blender automation, Blender scripts, but I think like in the future it will be very interesting to see how that turns to work with ControlNet and LoRa's and stuff like that. But yeah, still a bit early. But that is what we already did with like regulation images beyond like avatar training. And it works pretty well if you want to, for example, always have like a certain shot of the furniture, for example, when you always have like multiple furnitures and like the quality should be super high quality, and you can train a checkpoint or a LoRa with like lots of different furnitures. But if you want to train a single article, a single item of a particular type, then you need to be more concrete with the regulation images, not just throw it across the board. Um, but yeah, like the regulation um, vocabulary, like this person, like this word, this is why we insert it here into like the blip captioning prefix, because this will be dropped into the beginning of each txt file that this script is going to create for all the images that we just curated. And for the postfix, we are going to insert the white background thing. So let me quickly copy that from Skilly. I think it was, yeah, plain back, plain white background. And yeah, so I can now start the captioning, but as we already like described in the chat or like talked about in the chat, it's not true or accurate. Um, to be honest, I just do this to have all the txt files automatically generated with like prefix and then postfix, and we will probably delete everything that is now generated out anyways. But the cool thing is, and this really helped me, and I did it actually the first time with Skilly like this. Before I used like Atom, and before that I used just like Windows Text Editor to like go through all the images, like put them side by side, and then like write the content or like describe what's happening on the image into the txt file. You can now go to manual captioning again, select the Drake folder, and then it will load everything in here side by side with the prefix and suffix context that was just like generated. And that allows us to go through like all the 50 images manually, like very conveniently actually. And I think it is programmed in a way that as soon as you go like off focus with the cursor out of the text box, it automatically like updates the txt file. So You don't even need to press save. And I think like this step is one of the most important ones. I mean, I'm not an English like native speaker, so I just try to super plainly um, describe what's there or what I assume somebody would prompt to get that, because I think that's how you need to think anyways. Even if you don't have the vocabulary, you would like, as you want to, as you would like assume this is the, or understand like this is what the vector would search if somebody like prompts in something. Then I'm thinking then you would should like write something that you would expect somebody to like type in if they want to prompt something. And like prompting has become different as well over the past months. Like I think the way people prompt is changing. um I think we are thinking too deep. um yeah, or like there are certain vocabularies that people use, or certain, like in the beginning what I saw very often is that people like text something like this masterpiece, octane renderer, like all these things. I don't think we need that here, because that is more like how they would visualize the subject that we are describing. Like it's like another layer of like vocabulary prompt around the basic stuff that we are doing here. I don't really know how to articulate that. I think like in general it should be like super simple. Like we shouldn't like write a long sentence into this, rather something that is on point. I would not write Drake a person standing with one hand in the hip and lifting up one arm, showing, or maybe even lifting up the other arm, showing a peace sign with the hand, with the fingers. So this is something that nobody would prompt. We would probably prompt something like Drake, VRM a person. Even the standing is something what I would like. Maybe we put it in because like he is standing and it's still, but you could then only go for something like this instead of like describing it exactly. But that's something that I'm still like experimenting a lot with, and there's not much A/B testing happening yet. I think like absolutely, yeah, totally. Because that's the only way how you can then progress with the overall quality of LoRa outputs. If you have like a guideline. Yeah, just like so. It just
It
activated
would be
as
cool
all
to
your
do VR
screen.
chat photography. Like bring the avatar into VR chat and then just go around and take 50 pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could put them into a grid and then put it into GPTV and see if it can like describe each one in a list.
Yeah, that's a great idea, honestly. Like it could probably batch. It's very good at describing GPT-4 vision. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, that's
you
what I
could
was
also
thinking.
tell them describe it in the way that you would prompt it in Stable Diffusion.
Yeah, you can do that with Stable Diffusion. I don't know how to do it in Comfy, but I've seen it in Automatic 1111 where you can get it to describe the image, uh, and that might be another shortcut.
Yeah, but I think Stable ChatGPT is even better with the new vision thing.
Always, always. Yeah, of course. Amazing.
So you tell ChatGPT, what do you see, and please describe very shortly. Maybe we like give them JSON files how prompts look, but I think it already knows. Describe it in the way as you would then prompt it in Midjourney or in Stable Diffusion. Then they would give you this short, concise description. That's really a good idea. Something that's also important, which I did with Skilly, is like always try to not for the default face looks, but like for trying to capture the mood in some way also with one tag.
All right, I got three LoRa's trained uh
Nice.
so far. So yeah, I'm getting the hang of it.
Yeah,
Are
it gets more. It gets easier the after you do it. The more often you do it.
yeah. Are you using Koya for training? How are you training these models?
With Koya.
All right. Yeah, man. Trying to install it with the wrong Python version, I was wondering like, why am I getting these errors?
Yeah, that really sucks. Like all of that installation stuff, like it really sucks.
Yeah,
I had to
really.
like learn for certain LLM things also like how to set up like virtual environments where like all the CUDA and the Python versions can exist on the same Windows operating system in different like boxes, so to speak, virtual configurations. That helped because otherwise, um, sometimes then you install another Python version and another tool that you use don't work anymore.
Oh, it seems it's kind of nice that I can have Koya and Stable Diffusion running at the same time. Like they don't, Koya doesn't have, it doesn't like keep stuff in memory once you're done training. So,
Nice.
hmm.
Alsara, have your three LoRa's all been similar types? They've all been avatars?
These are just general
Be right
LoRa's
back.
around like art and stuff I had. It's really just an experiment for me to see like how this works now, but I do want to figure out how to make the best, most versatile auras. Um,
Show the class your LoRA.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm.
Come to the front.
Yes, teacher. Um, 1 second. All right. So I don't really know, like I really don't know what I'm doing, but I just grabbed a couple folders full of like images and like my own work, and then uh assembled them or like trained LoRa's on them according to a tutorial. And I'm just trying to find the training data. So the training data, like I just grabbed a couple of images and like resized them manually. And I didn't use blip training. I think I didn't use blip captioning for the first model I trained, but the second one is, I mean, the new ones I'm using now are using blip captioning. Um,
So is the right side the generated ones?
Left side is the data, right side is the generated ones off the data. And it's,
Oh, so those are all new stuff on the right.
yeah, and it's kind of like, um, it follows the style
Wow,
of
look
the
at that.
data
And
set I gave it.
your portfolio just
That looks amazing.
expanded.
That's
There we go.
I'm don't tell it. I'm driving, trying to look. That looks amazing.
Zara, you're prompting. I only see the
Um,
small thumbnail.
the prompting, I'm testing stuff out now with new generation. So let me find the other.
Prompt for us.
I have new data sets and like
Renee, you should probably end that recording for the whole section of training.